how bullies work. And we've got 6 ideas that we'd like you to consider as we discuss how bullies work. One thing that, again, these are things that we put together through our program at Interventions, talking to parents and, observations and getting feedback. One thing we find that bullies do is that they tend to do selective recruitment.
Right. So they find other kids that will go along with them.
Yes.
That maybe hold the same opinion. That when I pick on somebody, they're right there to say, yeah, and they become the informal crowd or support for the bully behind them.
Bullies, they look for folks that are going to look up to them, and they tend to keep that person hierarchical underneath them. They tend to, stroke their egos. They tend to show them, look, stay with us. We form a good team. We're going to be an echelon above everybody else around here because we're good and they're not. And as they recruit people to join their clique or their cult, they tend to reinforce an identity within that group of people,
right,
so that they feed into themselves. So that idea that we found that bullies tend to go out there and find people that they can bring into their group and keep them in their group, and they do it in such a way as to feed back into that a certain identity. Sometimes we call it a clique. There's been a lot of notions out there about gangs, but on its simplest level, we find that bullies tend to have selective recruitment, bring people into their clique, into their culture, that they maintain some identity.
Right.
The second thing they do is that we find, again, with how bullies work, is that there is this idea of dysfunctional reinforcement, dysfunctional positive reinforcement. That sounds really weird, but let me explain to what we're saying.
Okay.
The idea that when I, as a bully, push another child into some lower level of position and status,
right,
that makes me feel good about me. I force myself on you in such a way that makes you reverent of me. And in its own way, I feel the benefit of your fear for me, and I have this elevated position, this elevated status.
It's a sense of power.
So the dysfunctional mechanism of me asserting myself on a helpless individual and then embellishing my self-image by this reinforcement. I get this reinforcement from you. You're fearful of me. You're fearful of us. You'll do things for us. Wow, it works. I'm going to keep doing it. Okay? Right. So I am reinforcing within myself this system works by overpowering individuals and forcing them to feed into my system. With that comes this idea of embellished position and status. That is, I walked into this classroom on the first day of September this year, and now after a couple of months, we're now into October, November, I have this position and status that I have gained through forcing you to be submissive to me. And now I have elevated self-worth and self-esteem.
Right.
I'm king of the mountain.
Yep.
Does that make sense to you? So I've now positioned myself within my own little world to embellish my status and position in such a way that I feel good about myself.
So I have kids that are afraid of me, or I have the kids that are on my team who are positively reinforcing my actions.
Yep. The fourth thing that we see about how bullies work has to do with degradation directed. Now, what I'm saying is that our experiences of working with bullies in an environment has been that they are always working to degrade or demean those people around them. And by disrupting, if in fact their self-image, their self-worth, by putting them in a lower position and status, that's my tools. My tools are to keep you beaten down. My tools are to never let you feel good about yourself. I'm going to degrade you, and everything I can do about degrading you is the focus of my life.
Right.
Number 5 has to do with the secretive stealth nature.
Absolutely.
Bullies only work as long as they're not public view, as long as they're private view, as long as it's within the realms of our classroom, our playground.
It's got to be in the realm of my social structure. It's one of the secrets. I don't want an adult to know what I'm doing. I don't want somebody outside of this social structure to see it or find out about it, because then they might intervene and I lose my sense of power. I lose my status. But if I can contain it here with this classroom, or I can contain it here in this lunchroom or this school to this level, then I've got my own kingdom.
Yep. And then, keep that in mind too when we talk about how to break this up in schools and how to come to the benefit of your children. But then the sixth thing that we have identified in how bullies work has to do with bullies are principally directly abusive, secondary indirectly abusive, tertiary cyber abusive. And you know, the reason I give you that idea of a cyber technology is because this is a new thing.
It is.
A lot of parents haven't realized the power of this cyber technology. You know, I think just 2 or 3 years ago, parents weren't giving their kids phones. But then because of busing, and we've seen these horrific records where the bus broke down, and the kids were in the bus and nobody came to rescue them, and or the rain and it's pouring and there's an accident out front. Now parents are finding ways to give their children
a phone at younger and younger ages.
Yeah.
So that I can get in contact with you, so you can get into contact with me. So that I can leave you a message about where you're supposed to go. Am I picking you up at car rider or what?
So we're seeing that this idea of cyber technology is feeding into the child having a phone in their possession, and it's with me all the time. Hey, look, you know, we've gone through those ideas about how bullies work. We're going to take a few seconds out for a commercial. We'll be right back. I'm Dr. Pilet.
And I'm